I will do my best over the next couple of days to answer as many of your fantasy football lineup questions for week 13 as I possibly can. I know this is a critically important week for a lot of you because, this is the last week of your fantasy regular season. Your playoffs start next week, so you're either jockeying for playoff position or you're trying to maybe secure a first round bye in your playoffs, or maybe you're trying to make the playoffs, or maybe you're out of it, but you want to knock somebody else out of the playoffs. Play the spoiler, if you will. So I know a lot of you will be seeking out last minute help. I will tell you, you can post your questions about your lineups in or waiver free agent stuff in the comments. I might be able to get to it, but it's going to be a busy next few days for me. You might be better off because I can access it on my phone to tweet me at SchlegDaddyTV any of your fantasy football lineup questions for week 13. Should give me a follow there too, but worst case scenario, at least go on there if you have any fantasy lineup questions. Tweet at SchlegDaddyTV with your fantasy questions for week 13. Let's get on with it. Like I said, it's a very important week for fantasy football. You're right on the cusp of your fantasy football playoff starting, so you want to get this week right. So let's talk about players to sit and start. Quarterbacks to sit. Big Ben, Andrew Luck, and Nick Foles. I don't like any of their matchups. I don't like Luck's matchup because I don't like how the Colts have played the past few weeks. I don't like Nick Foles' matchup because the Cardinals' defense is playing really, really well, and the Eagles, other than beating the Redskins 2 weeks ago, have really struggled at home. Before that, losing like 9 in a row at home. And then Big Ben, you're talking about Steelers Ravens. I expect a very physical matchup, which means a lot of pounding it out, running the football, three and outs, maybe a couple of turnovers, a lot of familiarity between these teams. Typical AFC North, matchup. As a result, I don't expect a big day for Big Ben. Quarterbacks to start: Philip Rivers, Tom Brady, Fitzpatrick from Tennessee. I look at Fitzpatrick. He's had a couple of nice games statistically. You don't care whether his team wins or loses. They win some, they lose some. You care about the fact that he gets some opportunities. He throws the ball. And the good thing about Fitzpatrick is he can give you a little bit sometimes with his legs running the football. That's a nice little bonus to get out of the quarterback position sometimes. But I like his matchup against the Colts. I've liked what I've seen out of him production-wise the past couple of weeks. I think he's worth a gamble this week. Tom Brady, you know, years ago you would sit there and say, Tom Brady, you don't even need to question whether he sits or starts. Yeah, but not necessarily so much this year. But however, the Patriots offense has been a little better the past couple of weeks. I don't know how confident they are in their running game because none of the running backs seem to be able to run the fucking football with any consistency and hold on to the football without fumbling the damn thing. So Brady's going to be relied upon more and asked more to do more in the passing game. And Philip Rivers, if he just lit up the Chiefs' supposedly number one defense last week, I have full confidence that he could do a similar thing against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Running backs. Ones to sit: Trent Richardson. No further explanation needed, frankly. Bobby Rainey of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Carolina Panthers. Rainey didn't have a great week last week. He had a couple of really good weeks before that, but he's playing a top-rated Carolina defense. It's very, very tough against the run, the pass, whatever. They're just very, very good right now. I'm not taking my chances with Rainey this week. And Ray Rice, speaking of not taking my chances, I feel sorry for any of you that drafted Ray Rice in the first round or second round of your fantasy league drafts this year because you're probably not sitting in the greatest position in the standings, in part because you wasted a high pick on a guy who just flat out hasn't produced. What a disappointing fantasy season and real football season from Ray Rice. I'm playing against the Steelers. I don't envision in this matchup with so much familiarity. It's going to be about physicality and toughness, and I just don't expect much out of Ray Rice. Running backs to start. Oh, another one to sit. I keep forgetting about this. Darren McFadden. He's supposed to play this Thursday against the Cowboys, but he's going to be the number 2 option behind one of the running backs I think you should start this week. Rashard Jennings of the Oakland Raiders. He's been very impressive the past few weeks. He's a guy that runs the football well, gets goal line touches, also catches some balls out of the backfield. He's facing a Cowboys defense that is boo-boo, especially in the front 7. Well, pretty much all over, but especially the front 7. They're banged up, they're dinged up, and that could mean a big day for Rashard Jennings on Thanksgiving. Fred Jackson of the Buffalo Bills taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Similar story to the Falcons, not so much from the injury standpoint, just their defense sucks. So, Fred Jackson, C.J. Spiller, either one or both could have a big day against the Falcons defense, frankly. Andre Brown facing the Washington Redskins. Browns had a couple of nice games in a row since coming back from the leg injury in Week 10 for the New York Giants. The Redskins did do a pretty good job of containing Frank Gore and the 49ers rushing attack last week, but I think the wheels might be starting to come off in Washington, and they could totally collapse at any time. The Giants are a better team, and I think Andre Brown is going to have another nice day. Wide receivers, don't start Michael Crabtree this week. He might be worth a roster. He might be worth keeping on your bench and holding him there for the moment, but don't take the chance on him unless you have no other choice whatsoever in Week 13 to put up any type of real fantasy numbers. Torrey Smith of the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Steelers. Just heading into it, I don't feel that confident about Torrey Smith going against the Steelers. Again, like I talked about, I expect this to be a physical, low-scoring matchup, which a lot of these AFC North battles between the Steelers and Ravens end up being. A lot of field goals, not a lot of touchdowns, and Torrey Smith's just not getting a lot of targets. He makes some big plays in the passing game. When he does get targets, he just doesn't get a ton of them. Eric Decker of the Broncos taking on the Chiefs. You look at Decker, if Julius Thomas plays, he's the fourth option. If he doesn't play, he's still only the third option. If you're playing a team's number 3 or number 4 option in the passing game and expecting big points out of them, you're playing Russian roulette with your fantasy football lineup, period. You're just as likely and even more likely to get 2 points than you are 15. So it's probably better off sitting him this week. You look at the guys to consider starting this week. Alshon Jeffrey, the Chicago Bears, taking on the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings secondary is banged up. Their defense is bad. If Marshall gets double-teamed early and often, Alshon Jeffrey could be in for a big day. He runs a lot of routes that McCown loves to throw in terms of the short outs, the short ins, the slants, the hooks, the curls, the comebacks. These are all routes that fit very well into Josh McCown's skill set in that offense and also fit, ironically enough, into Alshon Jeffrey's route tree. So he could have a nice day. Cordero Patterson and the Minnesota Vikings facing the Chicago Bears. Early on in the year, the Minnesota Vikings said, hey, this guy's like 6'3", 6'4". He's big, he's physical, and he can fly, and he makes all these big plays in the return game for us. So let's never, ever throw him the fucking football and find no way to get him involved in the offense. I think the Minnesota Vikings are finally learning their lesson. Well, if he's a little rough or raw, he doesn't run the greatest routes. Who gives a shit? You need talent. You need skill. Cordell Patterson has it. And facing a banged-up and boo-boo Bears secondary and defense in general, Cordell Patterson could be in for a very nice day. You look at the first time he played the Bears, he had a kickoff return touchdown. This time, I anticipate he might have a receiving touchdown. Kendall Wright of the Tennessee Titans, you could throw Justin Hunter in there too. Either one of them taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Colts defense has been very bad the past few weeks. The Titans, they sat there, and Kendall Wright had a touchdown late to help the Titans beat the Raiders last week. And he gets a few targets from Fitzpatrick consistently every week. Kendall Wright's an explosive playmaker. Justin Hunter even more so. I think you could do better off with either one of those guys in your starting lineup this week than maybe a guy like a Crabtree or a Smith or a Decker. So again, if you have any lineup questions for this week or questions about who you should pick up on your free agency and waiver wire, you're better off. You could comment, and I might be able to get to them in the comments below. But definitely go to Twitter, tweet them to me at SchlegDaddyTV. We'll see how I did for this week, and hopefully I helped some of you out.